Hi Shannon, I'm Jess Jensen. Today we're going to kind of get to know each other a little bit. As your case manager, I'm going to go over some of the forms with you as we do like your intake process and kind of get to know each other a little bit. I were referred to the name of Susie Smith.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes,
okay,
my doctor.
Perfect. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I've got 4 forms for you. The first one is just initial contact information, so
Okay.
we kind of fill that out together.
Okay.
And then, oops, sticky. And then the second one is a consent form.
Okay.
And again, we'll discuss what that is.
Okay.
And then the third one is an intake form. That's the one that, you know, kind of gets to a little bit more about who you are, your family history, any struggles that you've had, where you've come from, any hospitalizations, things like that.
Okay.
And then we're going to do a brief questionnaire.
Okay.
Okay? Perfect. So the first one is initial contact information.
Okay.
Now, do you do better filling out the form like independently, or would you like to just kind of look over it and ask questions? Do you want to fill it out together? What works
We can
best
fill
for
it
you?
out together.
Okay, perfect. So your name.
Shannon Logan.
Okay. Today's date. Gender, female. So I'm gonna actually move some stuff over so that
Okay.
you can kind of fill it out.
Okay.
Just because they don't want my information. So, yeah, name. Perfect.
Okay.
Insurance information.
Yep. I have insurance through my employer.
And that is
Unum.
nice. How long have you worked there?
13 years.
That's awesome.
That's a long time.
Perfect. Your phone number. So like marital status.
Okay. I am married.
Your husband's name.
Spencer.
Mm-hmm. And when you just told me about where you were working at
Yes.
Unum. So we need that.
Unum.
And then emergency contact information. So if for some reason I needed to contact somebody, I would just
My
need to know
husband.
who you would want.
Okay. My husband.
And the primary care physician is Susan Smith, was
Yes.
the one that you see, correct?
Yes, Dr. Smith in Casco.
Perfect. And she was the one that referred you, correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Let me get okay. Sorry about that. I got the form right here. Okay. So consent form is right here.
Okay.
And so as your case manager, we kind of are going to go over what your rights are, what your responsibilities are, and we're going to get consent for those things.
Okay.
So informed consent. So we touched about that just a little bit. So talking
Yep.
about if you're able to make a decision, like if you understand what's involved in treatment and that you have the right to refuse treatment, but
Okay.
what the consequences of that may be.
Okay.
That you understand that you can at any time decide that this isn't a good fit, and we can pursue other options for you. And same here, if I don't feel that I am able to provide the services for you in an effective way, then we would talk about other options.
Okay.
And again, we just kind of have to discuss all of these things just so that you understand
Sure.
your rights. So we went over the informed consent.
Yep. Okay.
So this basically is just asking you if you understand what that is.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Rights and responsibilities, that you understand what your rights are with receiving services. And this is talking about payments, like we
Right.
talked about your insurance, and any complaints that you would have, and our cancellation policies.
Yep.
Those kind of things, and that all of your information is privacy, and I will adhere to the confidentiality. So I'm not going to share anything that we talk about.
Yep.
In regards to any of the issues that you're having.
Okay.
But we will have to talk about it says information with primary care providers unless I asked to restrict this disclosure. So you already had talked with me that I could share with it this information with Susie, your primary care physician.
Yep.
And the cancellation policy again,
Right.
24 hours. If you don't show for an appointment, you have to pay that. And we discussed the advanced directives. Excuse me. Do you want any more information about medical advanced directives or information about the mental health directives, also called Declaration for Mental Health Treatment? So you had said that you didn't want to do that, correct?
Right,
You didn't want any
correct.
information.
Yeah.
Perfect. So if you just sign that,
Okay.
and then we will move on to the next one.
Okay.
Perfect. Let me just get these. Sorry, the space here is kind of limited.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. So the next one is the long one.
Okay.
So this is called our adult intake form.
Okay.
Okay, and so this is gonna tell me a little bit about your concerns and things like that. Okay.
Okay.
So it says if you could we could just check off some of the problems that you've had in your family history. That would be great. That's what this
Okay.
section is right here.
Okay.
So if you just want to kind of look through that, and it's talking about mom, dad, nana, grandpa, those kind of things
Gotcha.
that happened in your in your family history.
Okay.
And then this section right here wants to know what any behaviors or symptoms that you personally have felt. It says problematic or that's interfered with your daily living, or even like weekly or monthly. We want to
Okay.
kind of, it's like 2 weeks. We'd like to know. So if you could fill that out.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot. And then the next one, this next section right here is asking you to just kind of check off any problems that have affected you recently. So like
Okay.
self-esteem, relationship problems, things like that.
Okay.
And then this next section kind of talks a little bit about any thoughts that you may be struggling with, thoughts of or statements of hurting yourself. Have you had any of those?
No.
Perfect. Okay. Have you ever had any thoughts or statements about hurting anybody else?
No.
Okay. You want to just keep filling it out.
Okay.
Any issues with gambling or drinking or drugs? Okay.
No.
Okay. Now, one of the things that we had talked about, you had mentioned to me in the beginning, was you were going to come in here because you had a visit with your mom coming up, and
Yeah.
the last one didn't go very well.
No, it wasn't great.
Okay.
So I just have some kind of issues with my mom from the past, and we just don't see eye to eye on a lot of family things, and I just kind of feel like she doesn't value how my family works and things, and so it kind of ended in a not so great way the last visit, and so I don't want a repeat of that again.
Okay.
I don't feel like she really values my husband, and because of that, he often gets pushed to the side when she's here, and that doesn't make anybody feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And then that usually results in some kind of argument, and just everybody gets upset. So I would like to avoid that.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So
and figure out how to kind of resolve that conflict ahead of time.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm hearing you correctly. So we're kind of, one of the things that we're gonna work on is you got some anxiety
Yeah.
about the visit that you had with your mom. It
Yeah.
didn't go very well because you're feeling like there's conflict in family and values, and
Yeah.
you know, you mentioned that you don't feel like she really respects your husband.
Yeah.
And you want to kind of get ahead of that before this next visit.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And you had said that boundaries were an issue too. Was that correct?
Yeah, just kind of overstepping as the grandmother and not the parent to my child.
Mhm.
So kind of not really, she doesn't really pay very much attention to the boundaries that I set or respect those, and she crosses those a lot with my child, and then tries to also be the parent and set different boundaries, and it's just not respectful of me being the parent.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be really frustrating too. And I'm not good with sticking up for myself or just communicating that what she's doing bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I want to kind of figure out how to communicate that to her in a way that's not just going to have everybody fly off the handle.
Okay, perfect. So I'm sure we can work on some different like communication skills, maybe practice some role playing, and talk a little bit about like for you when you're feeling overwhelmed, like, and maybe that proper prior planning with your mom and being like, hey mom, you know, we could talk about maybe calling her beforehand and discussing those things. And also, it sounds like you have a lot of anxiety about like those boundaries, but also in regards to your husband too, because you made the statement that she doesn't really like respect him and therefore he kind of goes to the side.
Yeah.
So I'm really confident that we can take care of some of those things.
Awesome.
Let's keep moving along here.
Okay.
So the next one is the family, it says family developmental history.
Okay.
So this wants to know your mom, what your mom's name is, what your relationship with her, dad, family, sisters, and
2 sisters, yeah, like we talked about.
yeah, Jasmine and Lily, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. And then the next one talks about family mental health problems. And what that wants to know is like, has there been any issues of like sexual abuse or depression or manic depression or
My
suicide?
family has issues.
Okay. Hey, you know, we'll work through them.
Okay.
You said alcohol. I see alcohol.
Yeah, both
and
my parents
abuse.
are alcoholics and drug addicts. Yeah.
And you said they met in rehab?
Yeah, they did.
Mhm.
So my dad's passed away now. My parents were divorced, but they actually met in drug rehab, and they were married like 9 to 6 months later. So didn't start off great.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
More family history right
Yeah.
here. How many
Yeah.
times, like marriage and stuff like that?
Yeah. So my parents are divorced. My mom got remarried once.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My dad's was never remarried before he passed away.
And then the next one is talking a little bit about things that you've experienced. So emotional abuse, sexual abuse, things like
Yeah.
that. So we just want to kind of look on those a little
Yeah.
bit. That would be great.
Okay.
Doing okay?
Yeah.
I know it's overwhelming. The paperwork is crazy. We're almost done. You're doing great. Okay, so you're doing good there. And now we're going to talk about previous mental health treatment. I saw that, or I didn't see, but you had spoken a little bit on the phone that you had struggled with depression and anxiety.
Yep.
And do you remember the date of that? Because that's where we would fill that in right here.
Yes. So I have postpartum depression after my daughter was born.
And how old is she?
She's 2 now.
Right.
Yep. And so I was on some medication for that too. So
Okay.
and just other things.
Perfect. Well, the next one is substance abuse history. So we can just fill that out.
Luckily, not a lot to fill in there.
Perfect.
Just a lot of
And-
coffee.
I hear you. Medical information. So allergies to any medications, any current medications.
No.
And then the next section is kind of a fun section. So your social support. So your friends, family,
Yeah.
things like that. So if
Okay.
you just want to...
Okay.
Education. It's very, very thorough, but this helps us to get a better understanding of how best to help you.
Okay.
All right. And then when you're done, you just initial down there on
Okay.
each page, which you did the other ones. Perfect.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, I don't think so.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So our last section is going to be the kind of questionnaire. So this is going to ask you how often you felt these kind of symptoms. So unhappy and sad, little energy, things like that. So if you could just fill that out.
Okay. I don't have very much energy. I have a 2-year-old.
Tense or nervous, lonely.
Yeah. I feel nervous about my mom's upcoming visit.
I totally hear you. Work on that. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Any questions about this?
No, I don't think so.
Perfect.